Honorable Samakai.
Thank you, Chair. My name is Newton Samakai, Member of Parliament for Bulonga constituency.
Thank you. My name is...
Well, thank you so much, and once more, Zia, you're welcome to the committee. My name is Atwambo Mutinja. I'm member for Tezi constituency in Southern Province, and I'm the chairperson for the Local Governance, Housing and Chiefs Affairs Committee. About the fact, we introduce.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. The Institute of Estate Agents. My name is Timothy Lumba, under the Office of the Clerk.
Thank you. Morning witness, Sharon from...
Well, thank you. Allow me to, which is conferred to me when they are deliberating on the floor of the House. And in that regard, I expect that in your deliberations, mislead this committee. But should you deliberately mislead the same information used to mislead us, it will be used against you in the courts of law. And there was no doubt that you deliberately mislead the committee. Having said that, we got hold of your report in good time, despite the short notice, and the members of Parliament had a fair amount of time to look at it and digest its contents. But for today, you might use interaction between your team and the members of Parliament in areas where they might want to seek further clarification. So, having said that, I'll hand it over to you, the team leader, in a space of about 5 to 10 minutes, so that you can take us through this. Then later on, they will engage a discussion where they will seek clarification. Thank you so much, and to you, Madam.
Thank you so much, Chair, and thank you, members. I would request for a hard copy. I don't know if we have. Thank you once again. As you may be aware, the Zambia Institute of Estate Agents is a creation of Parliament. It was created under Act number 21 of 2000 to regulate the practice of real estate in Zambia. It's been in existence from the time that the Act was created, and only became operational in 2020. But I have to ensure that this is known, because this institute, that is the backbone to everything that is happening in the country. In the air, development happens on land, and when we talk about land, we talk about real estate. Thank you, Chair. So as and we are so thankful for this opportunity to be able to come before you and also to be part of this submission on a review for the housing situation. So as we have submitted this memorandum committee that our country fares housing and housing, in terms of housing, So, Chair, to start with, as requested, this memorandum basically seeks to look at issues to appreciate the adequacy of the legal and policy framework that is in Zambia, an insight into the strategies and measures put in place to address the state of housing, understand the role of non-state actors in addressing housing challenges, and appreciate the opportunities and challenges associated with implementation of the national housing policy, and last but not the least, to also be able to propose some recommendations and way forward. So basically, if you look at the overview on the housing situation, the current housing situation in Zambia, you understand that as Zambia, we still continue to face a housing of 2 million. Deficit is growing at a rapid rate due to rapid urban urbanization. However, when we look at the situation of rapid urbanization, we have seen a lot of people moving from the peri-urbans and coming inside. So the details as put in the report is what is causing this serious housing deficit. Most of the data that we need as a country, and even as here, we have not been able to capture it, and it is one of the recommendations that we make to this house. As Zambia, we do not have a property database, so it is really difficult to get the actual figures. However, we still face that deficit as a country. So the key challenge affecting the housing sector include high cost of land and servicing and construction materials. There's the high cost in terms of once one acquires a piece of land, in order for them to do the clearing and also be able to put it into a standard where they can do proper housing, they would have spent quite an amount. Then limited access to affordable housing, finance and long-term mortgages. It is really difficult to get finance for housing and mortgages currently in the country, and this is mainly because most of or 3/4 of the population do not have an ability that if they are given a mortgage, they'll be able to pay, because 3/4 of the population in the country is either doing business and not in formal employment, so those usually become difficult to be able to get proper financing for housing. Then weak enforcement of planning and building regulations. You would agree with me that in the recent past, due to rapid urbanization, we have now given an example of the area just as you are getting on Great North Road. After 6 miles, we have seen a lot of unplanned settlements coming forward, and we've seen people even demarcating 10 by 20s, 15 by 15s, so that the enforcement, proper planning and building regulations, others have just started building. Even in fact, most of the buildings that happen, people start construction before they can even get the housing and the building and regulations or permission, and this is because of the processes that are usually a tedious process to one. Just like for one, if you have a plan, a housing plan, for example, just for which to be approved, it really takes a long time. So this is one of the challenges, and then people tend to lose patience, so they end up just at construction without getting proper planning or building regulations. Then delays and complicities, land administrations and titling. This cannot be overemphasized by the Institute. This is a challenge that we have been facing in terms of getting what we call security of tenure. As you know, currently about 70% of the land is held under customary land, and the difference is what is held under state. But in order for one to get proper security of tenure, it does not exist. Because if, for example, I get a property in the village, for me to be able to get a loan, I cannot get a loan, and then also for me to be able to just start that process of converting from customary to traditional land, it can take even over 6 months or even to close to a year. So this is the process that really becomes tedious. So we are happy currently. We've been seeing that the Ministry of Lands has come up with an initiative to ensure through the National Title Deed project, where a lot of titles have been issued in the recent past. But we are talking about, we want to also emphasize on the issues under land administration, on the issues of security of tenure, and as an institute, this is why you notice that one of our members introduced themselves as the chairperson for the National Land Conference. We've taken an advantage of this to come up with a committee that is going to be coming up with a conference, an annual conference, and this year in April we are having our 3rd conference. And at this conference we are bringing all stakeholders in the land administration sector to discuss matters of land administration in Zambia. Because as you understand, I know the committee is looking at also affairs of the chiefs, and 3/4 of the land that we have in Zambia lies with the chiefs. Now we ask ourselves also as estate agents to say, should this land be valuable only when it is put on title? To have our land on title, are you and me still going to have a village? So I will give an example. Our last conference last year, we invited the speaker, because at these conferences we invite international delegates to also come and speak to us and teach us how they are doing their land administration in their countries. So when we invited the speaker from the Ministry of Lands in Malawi, he presented to us that actually you can own land, have it, and if you want, you can also have a state title. So if the government, with the political will that is there, if we can have these systems, then security of tenure will be there, meaning I, as Narukui, even traditional last title and willing to stand and get a loan. Because currently, if I build a mansion in the village, looked at, there is a National Land Conference, and we hope that this year it will be well attended by the government, and we are actually for state could be the guest of honor at this conference. Last year's conference was well attended. We invited the guest of honor as the vice president, who delegated to the Minister of Lands, and it was a very interactive session, and hoping that the continued collaboration between which was created under Parliament, because we are your eyes as agents. I'm sure most people can even ask to say, why are agents getting this interest? It's because when one is coming to buy land or an investor comes, the first person they interact with is an agent. So it's either that agent to mess up things, or things will be done in a good way if they are registered. So this is why you see us coming with such initiatives. This is because we care of the environment in which we operate. So perforation and unplanned settlement, I think these have covered, and then the use of unregistered and unregulated intermediaries in property transaction, exposing the public to fraud and disputes. You may be happy to note that as Zambia Institute of Estate Agents, we are a reporting entity for the Financial Intelligence Center, and because our institute as a regulator, actually what we do is we register, train and regulate the agents. So all our agents go through a training. Right now, as I'm speaking, at our secretariat, we are having a class for level, so we have level 2 and 1 and level 2 training. So we train these areas for them to operate within the reporting entity for FIC. How they charge that even some government institutions, big institutions, have continued to use unregistered agents in the land transactions, and this is why we still find ourselves in issues of fraud and also issues of land disputes, because our agents are here when they are in. They understand how should the site plan look like, how should the beacon look like, are you able to sell a 10 by 15, if you are going to sell land which is along the river, what are you supposed to do? So we are our agents with required in order for them to guide the developers. The third one that I want us to quickly address is the access of housing. So we are aware that the existing legal and policy framework, the first one is the Constitution of Zambia, that is where all these other laws are gotten from. That is the Act number, especially under Act number 2 of 2020. We have the National Housing Policy, the Urban and Regional Planning Act number Act of 2015, the Urban and Regional Planning General Regulations of 2020, the Land Act chapter number 184 of the Laws of Zambia, the Housing under Statutory and Improvement Areas Act, the Local Government Act, the Zambia Institute Agents Act number 21 of 2000, the Environmental Management Act, among others. So there are quite a number of, including the Public Health Act, but just to make access as meant to just look at what we can note as an institute, knows that comprehensive legal the national for promoting affordable housing, private sector participation, and sustainable human settlements. I'm sure this can be seen also through the political will that has been for the initiative that the government has come in. Stakeholders coming up with the housing project and so forth. So, however, the in the absence of the laws or policies, but in the one, the fragmented implementation across institutions. So usually there is, you find that this other institute is not implementing what they are supposed to do. For example, if a building, if there is a construction, who should be, which institutes should be there to ensure that at the end of the day, if this building is erected, it will not have people complaining that no, the flyover bridge. So you ask yourself to say, oh, where was this stakeholder when the flyover bridge was created? So that the profession or institutions as a institution, this one has also been enforcement of development control regulations. I think our country really suffers on this one. We have laws on paper, but it is really difficult to ensure that these laws are implemented. And then inadequate coordination between land administration, housing development, and infrastructure provision. Then limited long-term and patient funding to finance housing development.
Excuse me, my team want to summarize a bit, or they will dwell more on the recommendations and the way forward in the interest of time.
Okay, sure. So basically what we looked at in terms of the legal framework that is there, and then we look at the strategies and measures that we can address to address the current housing situation. The first one should be policy and institutional measures. Like I've mentioned, I think I've spoken a lot. So in some of the points I made of this, the public-private, I think I briefly the political will in ensuring that we have private partnerships in infrastructure and housing development, and then infrastructure and land development as we ensure service initiative by local authorities and state institutions is made available to every basic Zambian. And I think then also the other important issue is the role of non-state actors in addressing the housing situation. I think the private sector so far we have seen a good number of them coming on board. Even ourselves as here, we have some of the members that have also gone into housing initiatives. For example, we have got broadleaf homes, we have national housing, they're also our member. So we have quite a number of people that have come up with these as non-state actors. Then we have also professional bodies like ourselves. ZIA, our duty is to ensure that the transparency and we also protect the public as they are getting their properties. And as you may also wish to know, we have a bill that is coming. We have done a draft bill and we hope that government will support our proposal, because currently ZIA is only regulating the estate agents and not regulating other property practitioners. So in terms of protecting consumers, you find that because these landlords are not regulated, they can sell one property to more than 3 people. And by the time one who has lost goes to recover their money, it will take years for them to do so. We have you may wish to know that we can even send you as a committee our draft bill so that you can appreciate it, because when you look at other countries, all property owners are regulated, meaning you are able to track where the problem is and you are able to ensure that everyone in that space is regulated. Just as I mentioned, also the collaboration of professional bodies. As here, we have actually done a draft MOU with the Law Association of Zambia to ensure that the people that are getting properties are protected. We also ensure that we collaborate with the Environmental Management Agency. So there is professional bodies collaboration and also civil society. As a we have taken, we are dealing with civil society, NGO, Land Alliance to make doing our job. We also collaborate, and this is what we also want to recommend, that as doing these housing initiatives, we also look at collaborating, because some civil developments advantages in implementing national housing policy. So the opportunities that are there, we've seen that a strong policy can that there is the proper implementation and participation, and also the growth. There's that, like I said, rapid urbanization, then availability of local building materials. I think for myself as an environmentalist, I've always been an advocate of people doing burnt blocks, because that is the local material molded and do up a very structure. There is inadequate funding, like I mentioned, limited access to finance. I already implementing institutions, and also unregulated players in the market. This has really made us to go backwards in terms of housing developments. So on our recommendations and way forward, recommendation is to strengthen implementation, so to enhance and institutional coordination in housing delivery and land administration. The second one is to support affordable housing development to introduce incentives such as tax reliefs, subsidized land support developers. The third one is to improve land administration and planning. Like I mentioned, to ensure that I'm happy that Zambia and Minister of Land, and also the other one which I mentioned, to ensure that the security of customary land. Then also enhance and transactions, so to enforce the use of registered agents. I cannot of my this to curb fraud and protect the consumers. And also, when you use a registered agent to ensure that the government will still get the revenue that it needs, because as agents we pay what withholding tax. If you are involved in a transaction, you have no way, there is no way you can registered agents. If they tend all the money goes in their pocket because they are not regulated. And also they promote more public-private partnerships. I'll emphasize on this one, and I'm seeing that it is happening in terms of collaboration. This will be good. And then empower local authorities, build capacity of councils in planning, development controls, and housing delivery. And then the last but not the least, engage and formalize non-state actors to recognize and integrate professional bodies, cooperatives, and civil society in housing policy implementation. In conclusion, ZIA reiterates its commitment to supporting government and parliament in addressing Zambia's housing challenges. The Institute believes that with effective implementation of existing policies, strengthened partnerships and enhanced regulation of the real estate sector, Zambia can significantly reduce its housing deficit and promote sustainable, inclusive human settlements. Zambia stands ready to provide ZIA stands ready to provide further technical input and collaborate with the committee and other stakeholders shaping the future of the country. Like I said, we really want to come up with a strategy where we are able to do a property database, and we have already started this. We signed an MOU with this Copperbelt University, because so far it is one of the big universities in Zambia, as you may know, and they're the ones that are offering a degree in real estate. Thank you so much.
Well, much for your elaborate presentation, and at this point invite the members of parliament to ask follow-up questions to seek some clarification. Honorable members, yes, Honorable Samakai.
Thank you very much, Chair, and thank you, witness, for your submission. I really want to find out what qualifications does one ought to have in order to register as a real estate agent. And the second question is, there are so many real estate agents. What sanctions do you have as an institute if those who are dealing in those who are masquerading as real estate agents are caught? What sanctions do you have on them?
Thank you so much. Yes, Honorable Member. Yes, Honorable Vice Chair.
Yes, thank you, Chair. I also want to find out the prescribed rates if your institution is in charge of so come your institution or just individuals that come about, then they will charge and I don't know, rates like the local authority, the rates you go there if you charge sheet, but for institution, where would we find those rates? A charge sheet. Thank you, Chair.
I think, okay, let's get the last one. Honorable Kandafora, you'll be able to ask, then we'll come back for the second round of interesting questions. Yes, Honorable Kandafora.
Thank you, Chair. You talked of that database. We without that property database, I was saying that even these figures we are discussing today, 1.5 million and all those deficit, are we really talking about the actual figures, or maybe we are just, as the Honorable Cassandra said, I was just dreaming about these figures? Thank you.
Yeah, maybe you might want to answer those, then we'll come back if Honorable want to ask. Who feels with your permission can be able to answer?
Thank you very much, Chair. Thank you very much, members. I'll speak to the first question, the second one, then the rest. The qualification is one that has a minimum of a grade 12 school certificate, but we realize that we have our brothers and sisters who are practicing real estate agency without 12 qualification. Came up with what we are calling a craft membership. So that craft membership, actually, you may be glad to note that next month we are starting the first craft, where we are bringing, as long as someone is able to read and write, we are going to take them on in a classroom style, or where we just talk to them about the laws, then limit on what they can do, because together, no, we have to also educate the people that are buying. There's a lot that is involved. You do sometimes to minimum qualification at the moment is if one is able to read and write and express themselves. Thank you. And then on the fees for joining, they are quite affordable. You have to go through a training, and
those with that, there any certification?
Yes, they are going to be certified and given a ZIA number. So how you know one agent is registered is you notice that they have ZIA number that are given by the institute, and if the general wants to confirm whether the is registered or not, they can simply call our office to find out and confirm, because we have a register, and every year we actually gazette in the paper. By end of this month, you will see the gap in the paper. We gazette, which we circulate and banks and other institutions. Thank you. So the other question on the rates, like I said, we are a training institute. We even are in a, so
sorry, before we come to this, there's a follow-up question from Honorable. Okay.
You said you will answer 1 and 2. You have answered and you have gone to 3.
Okay. The rates are 2. There was a
maybe
okay. So on the functions, actually, because I will not even call them an agent if they are not registered. So a person who practices real estate agency without being registered by the institute commits a criminal offense. And actually, we have secured some prosecutions that to our registrar, because deputy registrar and secretary committee that is in place. So we even have we also work with the National Prosecutions Authority.
Please go on.
Thank you very much.
Just switch off your mic.
Okay, thank you very much. As we use the existing law,
So the Estate Agent Act number 21, specifically section 36, has prescribed what sanctions are there. The sanctions are that if at all somebody is practicing real estate without being licensed, they are committing a crime, and they can be imprisoned for more than 4 years.
And sir, do you have statistics of how many cases of fraud in nature? Do you have an annual bulletin? So do we know that 1,000 people were prosecuted, 100 people, so that we demonstrate the urgency of the need to support institution? Or are you to give us the figures, sir?
So just last year alone, we successfully managed to convict over 6 individuals under court, and those that were arrested were over 80 people that were arrested just last year. Yeah. Yes.
So if someone scams me today, where do I go? A real estate related scam, like where do I report? Where do I start from?
Thank you, Chair, for that question. I will give it over to my other
Sure.
able member here to respond.
Please go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. So two ways, like he has mentioned. So if the person who has scammed you, the member of the institute, we have an in-house disciplinary committee that looks at the professional conduct of all our registered members. So once that report is received, the disciplinary committee is couched in a way that is like a court that hears the matters impartially and be able to look at the conduct. And if it's established that it's a professional misconduct, then the provisions of the Act will then apply. So depending on the gravity of the matter, it can reach a point where members' a practicing license is cancelled. But if the illegal agent who has scammed you is not a member of the institute, that is where you still have to report to the institute, but then the inspectorate that compliance committee takes it up to now then, as the chairperson has indicated, we have an MOU with NPA as well as the Zambia police. So matters pertaining to illegal practice receive special attention from the Zambia police as well as NPA for easy prosecution, so that then we can reach a conclusive end. So the public is secure.
Okay.
And the report.
Thank you. Honorable Kanda, for your question answered before we come to Honorable Munashabantu. Maybe can you remind what was your question? Sorry.
I'm sure she attempted to respond about rates. Yeah.
The rates.
Yeah. Who prescribes what is charged on clients?
Yes, please go ahead, sir.
Thank you very much. Rates. There is a statutory instrument that was passed, and one which we are also trying to enhance, which gives a general prescription of rates. As a rule of thumb, we generally don't expect our rates to go beyond 10% of the transaction value that is being looked at by an agent. And so that is the starting point. Anything that goes above that will be falling outside of the statutory instrument prescription.
Okay.
If members of the public are not sure, they certainly can be able to, approach the institute. We will be able to give them an assurance whether that transaction is within the rates that are there. Okay. We are trying to improve the statutory instrument with one that will cover other multiple transactions that estate agents engage in. They engage in consulting work, which also needs to have a prescription around it.
The viewing fees.
Viewing fees are illegal. Viewing fees are illegal, and we have been quite very, creating awareness around it that viewing fees are illegal. security deposit as well for security deposits on a rental agreement and so on. So that we will continue to create a lot of awareness around these issues. Campaign topic, for example, last year we had 2 campaign topics. One of them was viewing fees. The other one was the very of security deposits and so on. We will continue to be able to, work with stakeholders to bring awareness to the issue. We do realize that property is a significant purchase in anyone's life, and paying above what you should is not what we would want the public to be exposed to, and also being scammed, certainly.
Yes, Honorable, you have a follow-up. Right, because you hear these individuals, they come to you and tell you that you pay me one rent a month's rental as a charge. I don't know what those ideas. If you are paying your rentals at 5 penny per month, so you 1 month is the charge. And then you've talked about the 10%. So who is supposed to pay for the rental or the tenant? Okay, if you are an agent to Honorable Kandafula, is looking for an apartment to rent, then I manage to connect him to the client. So that 10%, who is supposed to pay? Is it the tenant or the landlord? And then the other question I'll ask later.
Yeah, maybe another follow-up. When you are doing consultants, there is a certain charge that goes to ZRI, if I'm not mistaken. I can't remember, what is it called? Withholding tax. Do these both the consultant?
Thank you, Chair, for that question, follow-up question. Like I mentioned in the presentation, for all our members, actually, if I'm representing a client, according to the Constitution, I'm supposed to have that we keep the members do. So there's no way a registered agent can run away from these fees, because it's part of corruption or misconduct. So definitely for our agents, they have to pay withholding tax. That one is non-negotiable. Honorable there. The other thing that has really destabilized our nation is the free market economy. It has become a little bit difficult because what is happening now is, for example, a landlord will agree, like you have said, if they give me a job to do, they'll say, okay, I want you to find me a tenant, and you sign, I'll give you 1 month rental. Then when they receive the money, they start changing their mind. So such things do happen. But however, it depends on what has been agreed in the first place. If you have agreed, if the landlord you given when it is the tenant who wants a house. So it depends on who has given me this task. Is it the landlord? If it's the landlord, they say, I've got this apartment and I want you to help me find a tenant. That means they've given me a job. Now I have to start advertising that property, and then we would have already agreed to say, when I do this service for you, how much are you going to pay? And usually we have got what we call dates, which are signed and agreed. Is it a long-term lease? So it depends on who has given who the job. And then in terms of you asked about the security deposit. Security deposit is illegal. Actually, in the Rent Act, premiums above what one was supposed to have paid, it is not allowed, but it is allowed on commercial property. and not on residential property. Yes. So like my colleague said, this is the reason for coming up with these initiatives. Just recently we were on a Chinyanja program. Very soon you'll be seeing us in a Tonga program, just to try and educate the public on what is supposed to be done around this.
So maybe when we come to the Rent Act, do you see that the Rent Act is still relevant in its context, or your amendments attached to the modern trend? Remember, we attended what Rod was trying to do, the digital app. I don't think some of the digital stuff could be in the Rent Act. There are a lot of other issues that are emerging. So when you look at the Rent Act, and most of the provisions in the land administration and the real estate administration, are they relevant, or you feel there are certain pieces of legislation, these that you highlighted here, that might require a bit of amendments to adapt them?
Thank you very much, Chair, and thank you very much, members. I was actually waiting for that comment. We have seen dynamics change with time, because if you look at how long the act has been and what is currently happening, it doesn't speak to what is there. So most definitely, as an institute, we would be happy to see change, because our clients, the landlords, actually, the act supports more of the tenant than the landlord. So you find that someone moves into another person's house, they damaged, and it becomes really difficult. This is how come even now landlords started demanding for security deposits. We want to ensure that when you have left the house, maybe they can use that to work on the house. But also the question is that the amount of damage, is it equivalent to what one would have paid? So definitely, Chair, it will be a recommendation that the act is looked at, and it speaks to what is currently happening. This is why you notice that even ourselves as ZIA, we have looked at the dynamics of the property sector. Our act was created in 2000, and today we are talking of 2026. So this is why we're asking for a new bill to cover, because what happens is, one will scam people as an unregistered agent. Then when they are caught, they say, no, I was selling my own land, I wasn't selling on behalf. So it becomes difficult to make sure that they are operating within the law. Like I earlier gave an example, you find one person is subdividing a farm, and they decide to sell one plot to 5 people, or and people to give you title deeds, this. So when we follow the criminal procedure way, you find that today they are released from police, tomorrow again they will go back and sell. But if they are related in a certain space, it becomes easy. Thank you. So all these laws, it would be good to have them looked at.
There's one of the kind of what was your question? The proper database. Just to add, who is supposed to do this? You say you are an establishment of the government.
Yes, we follow the Ministry of Local Government.
Okay.
Yes.
So who is supposed to ensure that this database responsibility is it, and what are you doing as an institute?
Like I earlier said, we realize that most of the figures, I'll speak to the Honorable's question first. The data that we gave, which is data that have been given, this is what that we are relying on. But with the property database I'm talking about is, today we must be able to know how many houses are in Kablonga, how many of those houses in Kablonga are 2 bedrooms or 3 bedrooms. So it becomes easy, even when we are going digital, to be able to see what the number of properties that we have, how much land is giving, for example, quarterly. That is database that I was trying to talk about. This information will also help ZRA what rate that is being sold. So today, if you go on Google to check that being sold, that is not there. So this one actually is not a one sector or one institute game. It's supposed to be an that is supposed to be done. Maybe a task force can be formed to look at maybe Ministry of Lands, local government. Of course, the local governments, they are the agents to the Ministry of Lands. But sometimes we have found situations ourselves as agents. You are selling a property for someone, for example, in Chiwombo, and then the next thing you find that they tell you to say no. Actually, as you are submitting this this property for conversion, there's already someone who got a title on this land. So when we are talking about property data, it also encompasses the traditional land part of it, because you and me, I'm sure, have found ourselves in the traditional. The book, Lipiranium book, and then that book doesn't exist. To give them no, I'll record the maybe you Lipiranium book, paid money for the book to be registered. That the village register doesn't exist. So those are some of the situation and data.
Honorable, as we conclude.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I to find out, are you it's your presence throughout the country, and that's one question. Then the last question, Chair. We've no issues with land estate companies, but where you have problems at these individual agents. I was just thinking in my mind, is it not possible for you people to create maybe cluster offices throughout the country, where if I need an individual agent, at least where they report somewhere where we can trace them, because there is no trace whatsoever, there are no fixed board, so to protect the customers. Don't you think it is necessary to create, even if first you want if you are decentralized or not, if you have offices throughout the country, or you are just the main motherboard, no any other offices around the country. So don't you think it would be best that you created even cluster offices? For example, if you have an office in Zambia, where all those individual agents are reporting for the purposes of tracking them, I submit here.
Maybe I might answer that one, and there is a follow-up question that on the withholding tax. We want to know who pays it. Is it the agent or the landlord? As you conclude.
Thank you so much. I appreciate your concern. Actually, if you followed me well, I had a concern to say I was wondering that this institute, this act was created in 2000, and there was a 10-year space for it to start being operational. And then from 10 years, from 2010 to date, how many years have passed, and very few Zambians know that there is this law that is supposed to govern them. So I would say in the last few years, this is when now the importance of this institute has been seen. So this is how we are now trying to grow. I'm happy to say that we have got a regional office in Kitwe, and then we also are going to open one in Southern Province and Eastern Province. So we are slowly getting there under my administration. Yes, I wanted that. So we have membership. Yes. So we have membership all over Zambia now, and this is why the numbers are growing. So definitely we are going out there to open offices. And then on the issue of the fixed board, those that do not have fixed board are the unregistered agents. Otherwise, for our agents that are registered, immediately you say I was scammed by Nalukuyumuwindwa ZIA number 503. The institute already knows where to find me, because when we are going to register, we do fingerprints, and we do not admit anyone that has got a criminal record. So there is a proper record, a proper file that is followed up. So there is no registered agent that can run away. But those ones who are talking about who do not have a fixed abode, definitely it is these our brothers and sisters we are talking about, who just think they can wake up and put up a poster, plot for sale, house for rent. So this is why we want everyone now to be brought on board. The reason we said we should by mid this year, we do not want to see anyone giving an excuse to say no, it's because here only admits grade 12. The reason we created the craft class, so that everyone who wants to practice in this space is registered. By the way, even professionals are coming to register. We have lawyers who are lawyers, but they are also registered with this institute because they understand the law. But out there we have come to realize that people do not know, they are ignorant of the law. So this is why we have been trying to see how best we can incorporate them.
Well, thank you so much. So we look forward to the forthcoming conference.
Sure.
So that we can get more insight on what this conversation is. It's a very interesting conversation. And we hope government will continue supporting your intentions as much as possible, so that we see how we bridge the 220 million in terms of housing units you are supposed to construct annually. It's a far-fetched ambition, but once we put our pieces together, I think it's something that we'll be able to achieve. If we don't have any follow-up questions, honorable members, I think at this point we'll come to the end. And we want to thank you most sincerely for your contribution. We are very of the small issues that you have raised in your submission. They will help Secretariat to make an informed decision on how we manage the housing crisis that we are currently experiencing in our country. So I'll take away the immunity which was conferred to you, so that you can now be on your own. Otherwise, on behalf of my colleagues, the honorable members who are here, we thank you and have a blessed day. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, and thank you very much for watching Parliament Television. That was the Zambia Institute of Estates Agents who were making submissions to the Committee on Local Governance, Housing and Chiefs Affairs as they continue considering the housing situation in Zambia. And that then concludes the live committee meetings for this afternoon. We continue bringing to you live proceedings of various committees this afternoon, starting at 14:30 hours. And from all of us, for now, we at Parliament Studios wish you a lovely afternoon.